Hello.
Yo,
What's happening?
what's up? What's up?
What's good, man?
Same shit, different toilet, man.
Uh,
Same shit, different toilet.
I heard that.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
A little bit. What? Since the last pudding wrestling, I guess, right?
Unless you interact with the post by just like reacting to it or commenting or whatever, you're not gonna see anything from that person again. Like your feed will just get drowned out by everything else that is constantly looping and just keeps going and going.
It's like taking a family trip back in the day, and you're staring out the window and you're just watching trees go. Oh, there's another one. There's another tree. Oh, there's an accident. Oh, cool. There you go. That's about it.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Rated G. I'm your host, G Terado. If you are new here, welcome to the show. This is an art podcast where I sit down with fellow artists, crafters, creative entrepreneurs, and we simply sit down and have honest discussions, conversations, all things revolving around creativity and also other aspects in life. So if you enjoyed this content, please be sure to hit that follow and subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you can keep up with all the current releases, and also be sure to check out the show descriptions, especially when I'm featuring an artist or a guest in general. That way you can continue to follow their active social media platforms. If you want to also take a look at my stuff too, it'll all be in there. Right, we always try to support local. And for those of you who are tuning back in, welcome back to the show, and thank you for your continued support. Now, I do have a guest for you on this episode, and I've known him for several years now. We met just about 7 years ago at a pudding wrestling charity event, which was a very interesting and fun experience for me. Never done it before. And this was during the time when I was just focusing on the zombie niche. I was zombifying my clients, and this person who was running the event, I believe, was started me out at a local event, and just bing bang boom, I ended up at this at this pudding wrestling tournament, and got to be a judge at it. So that was really interesting. And my guest with me is one of the individuals that was part of that event, and we stayed connected, and I guess fell off a little bit, but here we are today. He is now editing for stand-up comedian Jim Breuer's podcast, the Breuniverse. Stumbled on that one. But please welcome for the first time, Mike Salvatore.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Yeah. Well, I could have helped you out with that.
Oh, okay. That's right. You got the gear. See, one day. Well, I don't even know if I would have a soundboard. I'm not with it with that stuff. So you could probably show me the ropes on that.
Dude, that was cool because I was able to expense that on my taxes.
Yeah, everything. I do everything in post, so that's always like in my head. But in the moment of doing the thing, I'm like, yeah, the guess is probably just like, yeah, this part's kind of weird.
Yeah, no, when I do Breuer stuff, I do everything in post. I hold off on that. I usually use it for my buddies or for playing games or something.
Yeah, man. But so yeah, welcome on the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise, honestly. As soon as we started talking again, and then you kind of like, yeah, if you ever want to shoot the shit on the pod, I'm like in that world as well. And I was like, all right, fuck it, let's get on it. I usually try not to be so impulsive about scheduling, but I was like, yeah, fuck it, why not? This will be fun reconnecting with Mike. It's been a long time. And it's actually kind of funny because I told you even before this, somewhat recently I had Lisa Lavelle on with her bandmate So it was kind of neat, just catching up with her and seeing what she had been up to since that pudding wrestling event. But yeah, how'd you get on? How'd you get this gig working for? Is it for or with Jim Brewer? I don't know how it works, but
I guess it would be for and with. I mean, I do all the editing,
yeah.
the recording. It's he's in Florida, and I'm here in Jersey, and we linked up through my girlfriend. She was his agent's assistant, right? Coordinator, assistant, same thing. And she used to handle all his stuff and do stuff on the side for him. And he wanted to get back into it. He had a podcast years ago. He was on XM radio, he was on all that good stuff. And I guess it was time for him to be like, I want to get out there and start doing this again. So she introduced me. I actually went to one of his shows and she introduced me to him. And the first time I was meeting him, it was funny. We went backstage and I met him. And, I was trying to be cool as shit. I'm like, this dude's from Half Baked. Like,
I know, right?
I grew up with this. So, like, I'm in the back and I'm like, whatever, Jim Brewer, hey, what's up, man? And then right before we're getting ready to leave, I'm like, dude, I'm like, I was holding myself back and I'm like, I'm trying not to be like, I'm not going to do what everybody thinks I'm going to do. I end up doing it anyway. So I look like a total jackass. And he started laughing. He's like, he's like, you kind of forget like where you came from and people still, cause he touts himself as like a regular dude, which he is. He's a totally regular dude, but he forgets that sometimes that, he came from that lifestyle, I guess, from, Hollywood and movies and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So he was kind of like humbled by it a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I can only imagine. And it's often like from projects that they probably didn't think was gonna really make any impact, right? Like judging by the numbers that they were doing back then, which is like, it was different times. The competition was different. And they're like, yeah, whatever, the movie only did this much or whatever. So he probably just never thought like, damn, like now it's a fucking cult classic. Like everyone knows that scene, everyone knows that line. When opportunity presents itself, they'll use it. It's wild. I would be the same way. I would try not to fanboy over celebrities, but that's
it's kind of hard to, but
he's a heavy hitter of a comedian.
Yeah.
Talking about Jim Brewer here. And like, I don't know my audience demographic, but I imagine anyone that happens to tune in is probably on the younger side, maybe. But
I was at a gathering and I was the whole hey, what do you do, all that crap, and I'm like, oh, I work for a comedian on his podcast, and I'm like, oh, who? And I'm like, Jim Brewer, and they're like, who? Yeah. I'm like, Half Baked, Saturday Night Live. And usually when you mention Half Baked, they're kind of like, and you're like, the guy, the Funyuns and some sour cream and some dip, man. They're like,
boy,
and then they do the, oh yeah, that guy. Yeah. I know who he is. Yeah.
Damn.
So, whatever.
Now, wait, how long ago was this when you started working?
We got together last August and we had a meeting at this little diner in Chester, New Jersey, where he was from originally, or where he was living for a while. And we talked about it and we're like, yeah, we're gonna try to shoot for like a late October, early November release for like the first episode. But in the meantime, I'm gonna take you with me on a couple shows I'm gonna do, and we can just film stuff and you can just kind of get a feel for what I do. I'm like, all right. So I ended up going to Annapolis, Maryland with him. He put me up in a hotel. It was like fucking dude. I would probably have to take out a loan for this room that I was in. It was ridiculous. And not only that, it was during Fleeb week. So it's either when the Navy kids are either leaving for the
Oh,
first time to go into school, or they came back to like visit family, and then they're only back for the weekend, and then they go back to wherever they go. But there was just it was just flooded with the Navy. It was awesome. It was really cool experience. And then the following weekend we went to, where the hell did we go? We went somewhere. But yeah, like the first time I like actually hooked up with him, he's like, "All right, I got all these VHS tapes that I need you to convert, blah blah blah." Dude, he shows up to my house with his car, his buddy with a pickup truck, and like totes of mini DV tapes, VHS tapes, DVDs. It looked like the dude was moving into my apartment. It was crazy. And then we get in his little car and we road trip it down to Maryland. I'm like, dude, this is what's going on. I'm road tripping with Jim Breuer right now. Like I'm in the back seat filming. We're just bullshit. I'm like, this is what's going on right now.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was it was last August. Actually, Facebook just reminded me, like, hey, your Facebook memories. Here's Annapolis, Maryland.
Oh, wow. So okay.
Yeah, and then we got stuff going slowly, and then end of October, early November, first episode came out, and I've just slowly been making improvements to everything, and all he's got to do is just show up and deliver. That's about it. Yeah.
One day I talk about it, I'm like, one day I'm gonna have someone to help me.
Dude, it's
to get a Jamie.
Yeah, it's kind of like
the bunk stuff or
whatever. That's a couple, a couple of my buddy. I don't remember if you remember Rad Ron from Pudding Wrestling. No. Anyway,
I mean, we all say this, but I can't for the life of me remember the names. I could only identify by profile picture.
Those events were a little fuzzy for me anyway. So,
dude, it felt like forever ago.
Yeah, 2000.
Like it was about 7 years ago, I believe.
I want to say 2015 or 16 was the last one.
Yeah, like
it was definitely a bit ago.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck.
But anyway, he like said something along the lines of like, oh yeah, you're like Jamie is to Rogan, and I'm like, I guess I never really saw it that way, and that's kind of a compliment. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, when you handle like all that stuff, all the technical stuff, I mean, yeah, you either have your I hate to even say host, but like you have your host and like your assistant that helps you kind of put everything in fruition.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Like I said, he's in Florida and I'm in Jersey. I found this platform called StreamYard, and it's kind of like Zoom, but it's got a bunch more stuff that you can do as far as like flying in tickers or graphics or having overlays or music. It's basically Zoom, but for streaming.
Oh, so okay.
And that's what I use. I use that. And then I host it, and then Jim joins in and this and that, but like I can control the guests. It's like basically being a producer, like a remote producer.
Yeah.
Which is pretty freaking awesome, especially nowadays.
Does he typically have guests?
Oh yeah. We just had on, who the hell we had? We had this guy from Instagram on last week, Mazzani. He does like a bunch of like spiritual stuff.
So you sit during you're there the whole time, right?
Oh yeah. I have to like if he makes me fly in videos, I gotta be on the ready for that. If he wants me to look something up on the internet, I gotta pull. I'm the Jamie. I pull everything in, but I can do it remote. I don't have to be in the same room.
Right.
That's
dope. Huh.
Yeah, we had on. I don't know if you know Louder with Crowder. He's the guy. You ever see the meme "Change My Mind"?
Oh, that guy.
The table. Yeah, he does a whole podcast thing and this and that. He's got this guy, his sidekick. His name's Dave Landau. He's a comedian. We had him on a couple weeks ago, which was awesome.
Yeah.
We're trying to get some, I guess you can say, bigger names. We're trying to rope in like we're working on, what the hell's his name? Shit, he was Aldous Snow in Get Him to the Greek and
movie. Russell Brand?
Yeah.
Nice.
They were on Rogan together, and my girlfriend Annie, she's the producer of the show, so she reaches out to all the guests and makes contacts, and this time, that time, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
So yeah, we reached out to his people. There's a couple like big YouTubers that we've reached out to. We're slowly making our way up. Jim's studio currently is a closet in his new house.
Mm-hmm.
He's been talking about getting a studio built since the beginning of the podcast, since we've been doing it, and it's just been very slow process, but he makes it work.
Like
and
that, man.
it's
It
funny.
is definitely like that.
Yeah, you see these like doors like kind of closed behind him, and like you see a bed and shit. It's just hilarious.
That's how my shit always is. I mean, now we got a bigger apartment where we have a second room, and that's my office. But even in my office, I have a day bed for visitors.
Okay.
So the whole thing isn't even really, my space. But before that, I mean, yeah, when we were still in Jersey, my office space was in our bedroom, and it was such a fucking
That's dude, that's where I'm at right now. I'm in our bedroom, but I got this portable green screen, which is fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
I thought about that's the thing too. Like I often think about what are some things I could improve, I guess, visually, but then I'm on like a low to no budget. So I'm like, I don't even want to like worry about it, because I feel like I don't know. It might be a waste of energy and like worry. Like I think right now is just try to build the audience and I don't know. I'm like slowly upgrading, improving things.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. That's all you can do is just keep adding a little bit here and there,
Yeah, like I thought about doing sort of like a green screen background, or just having just a plain
a sheet.
Black.
You can just use a sheet.
But then I'm like, I like showing my workspace, because I guess because of the type of stuff that we talk about on the podcast, it's all like art and creativity. So I mean,
yeah, if I took this down, you'd see the bed and the shelves behind me and shit. Typically when I do the Breuniverse, I have my camera up here, and it kind of looks down behind me, because I don't know, I guess I don't really want to be out there for whatever reason. I don't know, but it kind of just worked out, like that angle, like you can see like me working and doing everything and the screens and shit.
Christine, who's a longtime fan, she goes, I love that you can't see Mike. It reminds me of, it reminds me of like the neighbor, the Tim Allen
Wilson
time. Yes. Maybe one day you're walking around in Jersey at like a ShopRite, and someone goes, dude, what is your name? I recognize that voice. Where do I hear that voice? They're like, yes, that's me.
They recognize me in line from the back of my head. Yeah, that's the thing.
I was thinking of someone
Mike, the sound guy. What's that?
I was thinking of somebody else, actually. What's the villain's name from Inspector Gadget?
Oh shit!
You would just see like his arm from the shoulder down, and his
man, Claw.
Yeah, Dr. Claw.
Dr. Claw. Yep, that's it.
It's like a Dr. Claw angle. You just see everything over the shoulder, but that's cool. I mean, yeah, you're like a mystery,
an enigma.
Yeah, that's it. And now is this like a weekly podcast?
Yeah, every week we usually.
I guess we don't do it. The standard. It's like people try to have something released every week, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
that's how I've been doing it.
Some people do 2 episodes a day, and I'm like, you're out of your mind.
Yeah,
why are you doing that? That's too much.
I mean, I understand backlogging, because that's what I tend to do. I talked about it with you. Like, I'll have some banked, but it's very rare where I'll have like 2 recording sessions in one day, or even like I did do that for a very short while. I was doing 2 episodes a week, but the second one would be like a midweek episode, and I would try to make that a short one. But because I just love to, I'm long-winded, so I can just fucking just keep going, and I'm like, damn, this is a lot of work, and like it's like I just keep this thing every week, because I clearly, if I'm by myself, I'll just ramble about some random shit, or just like get shit off my chest or whatever. So
You just rant. Yep.
yeah, I mean, I try to avoid those. I always like to have a guest on, and just like kind of just support the creative, the art community that way, just connecting with other local artists.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, but it's a hustle, so you know how it is. So like, it gets to the I have caught myself at the brink of like burnout, and it's hard to take a break though, because I did like this is kind of how I stay socializing, really, like having just like real organic conversations like this. And
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, like I need this as much as anybody else would, I guess. So I just keep going with it, and it's been fun. It's been, I mean, hey, we're doing this now, and you know, who knows? Like if we would have,
It's like
if and when we would have came across each other again, like it.
you're journaling. You're like you're vlogging. So it's like
Yes.
you're writing down your experiences. This is all the journey of life. And hey, people come in, people go out, and they come back. Who knows? And this and that. But you're chronicling your life or a part of it, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. I've sort of in a similar way have said that. Like I'm documenting all of my interactions. And personally, I've talked about this numerous times. I'm just trying to be a better conversationalist. And I'll admit I use real mundane language, so sometimes I just sound like an idiot, and that's just like my personal like view. I'm like I don't I try to use better words. I always say I'm bad with words, because sometimes I just use words incorrectly, and it's a mess. So I always say, yeah, I'm bad with words, but I just ironically I love to talk to people. I love to socialize.
It's
Yeah.
it's funny you said that, because I said something before. I think I was talking about Breuer, and I used tout, and then like after it came out, I'm like, shit, did I even use that word right? I don't think I did.
Yeah.
But hey, and you give it a shot, whatever. I
It's
don't
it's
care.
all like a learning experience. And honestly, too, I don't know. I'll only speak for myself, but I know every recording, especially when I'm with someone, I like, we sign off like feeling good, and like, and then before, like when I'm laying in bed trying to fall asleep, I'm just thinking about, fuck man, I hope I did a good job as a host. I hope I hope I gave them enough time, airtime to talk and share their stories and all this. Like I hope I wasn't offensive, and I'm like, oh, I hope I was myself. I didn't like come off as fake. Like all these fucking like insecure questions start coming in. It's like it's wild. Like I go through that, and I don't know if that's something many podcasters go through, like in the beginning stages or every time. But
Dude,
yeah.
when I first started with Brewer, and he would have me talk, I'm like, ah, Jesus Christ, I'm gonna sound like an idiot. And it's not even like, when we started it, he had 97,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is for YouTube is not a lot. Jim's online game and social presence
Yeah.
hasn't wasn't really there. And once we started this, like, I'm not trying to gloat or anything, or
Oh, but it went.
I almost got him like 100,000 subscribers just from the time that we started until now. So
You go.
however long he's been on YouTube for, he got 97,000, and in less than a year I got him almost 100,000 subscribers. Well, I didn't, he did, but like I'm a part of that, and it's remarkable. And then I think about it, and I'm like, okay, so there's 100,000 extra people that might possibly tune in and listen to my dumbass talk. Like, who wants to hear Mike the Sound Guy talk? And
You'd be
some
surprised, dude.
well, sometimes like you said, like I'll sit there and I'll talk about things, and I'll be like, ah, shit. Like after recording it, I'm like, did I really need to say that? And I'm like, I have the power of post, and I can just edit this out, which sometimes I do. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. take
Oh,
that
yeah.
out, you know. But,
Have there been things that Jim wanted to edit out or anything?
There's been a couple times where he's wanted me to take something out, like, I didn't like that, or
Right.
I came off like too angry. Maybe we should just cut that part out. You know, he'll go on rants sometimes, and you know, whatever, I'll take it out. But for most of it, if not the majority of it, he gives me creative freedom to do whatever. Like I created his brand for him that he okayed. You know, I do his TikTok videos, his Instagram videos, his face, anywhere that you see a video of him from, you know, a year ago until now, I've put it. He just comes in,
Yeah.
does his thing, and here's a graphic, here's some sound effects, boom, 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 you know. So it's pretty cool to know at the end of the day, like, hey, a lot of people are seeing my work, but at the same time, hey, I gotta, you know, not sound like an idiot or make him look stupid, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can't. Well, I can only imagine.
It's I mean, now it's like whatever. I don't even care. It's
Yeah.
tear me up. For the first, like, I think 2 months, I would, every time the video would come out, I'd scroll through the comments like, oh man, are they gonna say anything about Mike the Sound Guy? Oh god, oh fuck, I can't do this, I can't take this. Oh my, and then after that, I'm just like, just stop reading the comments, dummy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah.
I don't get enough, so I'll read them all, and it's only like a couple, if any.
Hey, a couple, that's where you start, man. That's the great part
It's
about it,
true.
is that you're
It's
starting from the
it's a long
ground.
game for
Yep.
sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, but content creating it's exhausting.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. He had me at one point, like I said, those boxes, the totes of VHS tapes. Dude, I have everything from like his personal life stuff, like to his kids growing up, to his wedding, to his dad. Like his dad, eventually like got like sick and Alzheimer's and all that stuff, and he eventually passed away. But like I got to see his dad when he was in his prime and go through that whole thing, and his kids growing up. And then there's his comedy special and stuff that never made it out to air, but dude, tape after tape. And it's not like, you know, with digital media where you can just drag and drop and then that's it. You got to sit here and watch it in real time. And it's like, some of these tapes are 6 hours long. Oh my God. And that I think for the 2-3 months he had me doing that burned me out. Like I didn't even want to watch TV. I'm like, I can't. I close my eyes and I see, you know, his old specials and stand-ups, and I'm just like, oh no. But yeah, we eventually we put the kibosh on that for right now. But I mean, I got a lot of stuff from like old shit that before he was even, you know, Jim Breuer, like stuff in his basement at his parents' house. You know, it's crazy.
God damn.
But yeah, that shit that burns out. I mean, you know, we record on a Tuesday or Wednesday. It's never live. We don't do it live. He usually does his own thing live on Patreon. And then we shoot for Fridays for you know, to I guess premiere it or whatever. But in between that, like I edit the video depending on how many guests we have on. I'm breaking that shit up, and then his Patreon guy also does his social media stuff, which is great because all I got to do is just make the shit, and then this guy puts everything out there. But it's like, you know, can I get a 30-second clip for Instagram with subtitles and this and that? And then to break that down, I mean, to take a 30-second clip out of something where it's like, you know, an hour-long podcast, and like, okay, find something funny or interesting in this hour. Cut it down to 30 seconds, make it, you know, coherent and funny, and then, you know, put text in it. And it's like, all right, well, the text part's easy, but it's the whole, I gotta curate this. I gotta figure out the funny parts. Okay. Sometimes I get help from Jim, like use this, you know, between here and there, but nine times out of 10, it's like, all right, you know, and then he needs, you know, 2 clips for Instagram and then a full clip for YouTube, a full, you know, full screen video. And it's
I
like,
think I'm having PTSD right now.
dude.
Like I just went through this just yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's exact. I had an episode that's almost 3 hours long with a friend, and just trying to come up with a few. I try to do 60, 60 seconds max.
Yeah.
But that alone is like fucking hard, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, especially like for you, you said you did 3 hours. Like
yeah.
I've been trying to like get myself into, I have post-it notes all
Yeah,
over
I
my
make
desk.
mental timestamps and I have notes, right? I
Dude,
can point that out. I do have notes and just in case. And I generally know I have an idea when things are brought up. But even still, it's like finding, finding that like one moment of like, haha, just something to entertaining. Uh,
mhm.
especially like in the middle of like a deep conversation or a topic, right? It's like, oh man, all right, I gotta like skim through some of this, like.
And then you got to go through 3 hours of that.
I mean, hey, right? It's rough, and then at the same time, I enjoy it. So,
Yep. Yeah. 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 It's a
it is
love
nice
hate,
though.
love hate.
I do review everything, but I skim through it as well. Like I don't sit there and listen to the entire thing from start to finish. I just listen to like certain parts of it and it kind of just like refreshes everything else. And then I get to enjoy
Because
that
you
moment again.
do audio and video, right?
Yeah. That's
So
why I love Zoom
do
because it
you
saves everything.
do you like, let's say you have you're recorded for an hour and a half, 2 hours, however long.
Yeah.
Do you ever get it like to where you're trying to find something and you're skimming through your footage, and like, let's say like your arm went up like this and you were like, oh, that's what I was talking
Oh
about.
yeah.
Ah, you got to use that.
Oh
It's just like
yeah.
visual cues. It's great.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I look for any like facial expressions, especially like laughs.
Mhm.
If I catch a thumbnail of one of us laughing, like okay, I'll go in deeper and then play through a little bit and see what we're talking about.
Mhm.
And yeah, and like sometimes I'll just actually take that whole conversation, cut that out, and then I'll just keep chopping away all the fat and just try to get to the pinpoints.
Yep.
But again, right, it's very tedious. It's
Oh
a
yeah.
tedious process. But I went to school for like stuff like that, so that's why I enjoy it.
Yep.
But I do find myself I can tell when I'm getting like exhausted because I'm like, oh man. It does do a lot of it takes a lot of, and then like I start worrying about the artwork and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm not paying enough attention to the artwork or commissions, stuff like that. So
Mhm.
whew,
Got to balance that time.
hell yeah. I have it, but so it's just I guess like when it comes to podcasts, I don't know, it's hard for me to sit on stuff on recordings.
Mhm.
So
Well, you can't.
yeah.
You can't,
Yeah,
because
like
that's when you lose out on that, oh, that was the funny part. I can use that or this and that. Cause then you're like, you go back to it a week later, you're like, what the hell was I talking
yeah,
about? Oh shit.
yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. And it's even worse when it's a solo podcast because like, oh fuck, now I got like I know it's like I know I'm gonna be complaining about something or whatever. So it's like great. I gotta like look into this a little bit and see what the hell I'm talking about. Because I'm gonna put this shit out there regardless.
Yeah. Ugh.
Uh yeah, it's like and it's I've been doing this for like a few years now, almost 3 years. It's like it's been a fun ride, and I'm trying to like reach out to some. I don't want to say big names, but some familiar names out uh, in these like communities and like mainly right now, like I've been loving the comedy scene so
Mhm.
far, and really got to appreciate it more as of late. So I've been trying to like reach out to some comics, and I've had a couple who have been great, and I got to see them perform, and it was fun. And yeah, so I've been trying to like reach out a little bit, try to get some, you know, bigger names, but yeah, I tend to still stay local because it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
But you still like, are you still in touch with like everyone that all like the mutual friends that we've had since the pudding wrestling days?
Nope.
Or-
Nope. Kind of just went off on our own thing. Everybody
Okay.
just kind of split off. I mean, I talked to some of the people on social media. I follow them, we chat every now and then, but not hang out like we used to anymore.
Mm,
It's a, things changed,
of course.
and
I was
then
just
obviously,
curious.
and then the thing happened, the 2 years ago thing, that whole thing, everybody's locked up in their houses. That whole thing happened, you
Yeah,
know.
that probably just exacerbated.
Yeah, there was a point, I think, like shortly after that, like probably about a year after the last pudding wrestling, things kind of fell apart.
Mm,
Um, our drummer for my band at the time walked off stage at a show, so like my band ended, and
mm,
then my girlfriend at the time, we broke up, and then my dad passed away,
mm.
and it was just like boom, 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 and I basically just fucking like isolated myself. I'm like,
Clean slate.
everything is just coming down and it sucks. And I didn't do anything, man. Like when the pandemic came, I was like, I love this. What do you mean? I don't have to go out. I don't have to do anything. Like I
Yeah.
could just isolate myself in my room. Like this is fantastic. I love it. And then that ran its course to a point. Like I finally, like after years, I was like, I gotta do something. Like this is really wearing me down. Like it was getting to the point where like I guess I was getting like really bad depression, and
Yeah.
I would just lay in bed and not watch TV, not do anything, and I wouldn't eat dinner, I just did nothing, and I'm like, wow,
Mm.
I got to do something about this. So like September of 2020, I'm like, I'm gonna start doing shit, and I got like my fishing license, and I'm like, all right. Meanwhile, there's a pandemic going on. I'm gonna go fishing. I'm gonna do this and that. I started kayaking. My buddy I mentioned before, Rad Ron, we did this overnight on the. People are gonna kill me for probably butchering it, but Appalachian, however you want to say it, with depending on
Appalachian.
where you're from. We did an overnight there on the trail, and we did this hike, and 40-pound backpacks and shit, and it was
Nice.
awesome. I was just like, all right, well, that's my thing. I'm gonna get out there and start doing stuff because I gotta beat whatever the hell's going on with me. And
Yeah.
then went kayaking, and then I met this chick there who was like yelling at me kayaking, and we started hanging out, getting tacos, and that's where I'm at now, man. That's how I ended up meeting Breuer. Who
Nice.
knows, kayaks and tacos would have led to Breuer.
It led to opportunities.
Life is just it's so weird when you
Yeah.
think about what you did to get to this point. Like people say like, oh, if you could go back and do anything different, it's like, some people have good lives, they'd be like, nah, I'm not going to go back. Some people say, yeah, I would totally do something different. But it's like you wouldn't even probably be in this situation of this person asking you if you can go back to change anything, had it not been for the actions that preceded that to that point. You know what I mean? You would have never gotten to that person asking you, would you go back and change anything had you not done what you did in that order and how you did it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you essentially kind of like started on a clean slate almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just, yeah, kind of, I don't want to say you started a new life, but you kind of just like branched off and just really kind of lived for yourself. And
Yeah. I mean, it was essentially, I'm getting a little older. We're all getting older,
yeah,
but I'm like, I gotta stop doing the same old shit. It's gonna do something different. Doing
absolutely.
different. Make that a t-shirt. Do different.
Too different. You still playing music though?
Not. I mean, not in the band anymore. I mean, I fire up my bass every now and then. I ended up getting a Rocksmith on Steam so I can play the bass and, you know, play the songs. And as long as I'm keep my fingers moving and shit, but I miss playing on stage. It was
Yeah.
so much fun. That
Oh
was like,
yeah.
that was
That's
a good
cheap.
point in my life. I loved it. Loved every minute of it.
Yeah. But even if you're just playing around, you still want to get that feeling anyway. Like
Oh yeah.
just stay loose, I guess. Right.
Yeah, and keep it, you know, I don't want to stiffen up. Everything else
Mm,
is doing that.
yeah, I think about that sometimes. Like I because I used to play guitar and I like no didn't I wasn't like great at it, but I was decent. I had
Mhm.
potential, I think. If I took real lessons. But yeah, then I just stopped playing the guitar. I even have like a mini djembe I was fucking around with. That was really fun. And sometimes I even think about, oh, I should pick that up again. I have a ukulele that was fun to play. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, like I always loved dabbling into like, instruments and but yeah, I'm like, damn, I should pick it up again just for the fuck of it. But that's just like another thing added to my daily, my list of itinerary.
Yeah, I've been using the bass as kind of an out as of lately, as like not necessarily a crutch, but like if I'm having a shitty day or I'm in some kind of funk and I'm just like I just can't get
Mhm.
out of it, I'll be like, I'm just gonna go play some bass. And
Yeah, it's like therapy.
9.5 times out of 10, it'll take me out of it and puts me in a better mood. So, you know.
100%.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I use a workout. Like I have to start my day with a workout because that kind of gives me like an automatic boost for the day. Like
The jump start.
the jump start, and then if there's like shit. I mean, sometimes it doesn't work. I've learned this the hard way, but sometimes it helps. Like even just like with bullshit, like daily bullshit, just kind of helps. Just deal with the daily bullshit.
Keep your mind going
Yeah, easier.
off
Yeah,
something onto something else. Yeah.
yeah. It's just easier to tolerate things, like because you're just like in a better mood. You feel good about the workout, and it has like all those benefits. So that's why I like to start off a day with a workout like that. Just to get that. But yeah. I mean, it's good to have uh something to get like that out, that whatever you want to call that, the funk or whatever. It's good to have like a recreational activity
Mm-hmm.
to put it out there, whether it's exercising or playing an instrument or painting. Like for some reason I haven't gotten myself where I'm kind of like just quote unquote doodling. Like everything I do, like I'm like a perfectionist, so like it always has to come out good to my standards, even though it could probably look like shit to someone else. But like I have to be happy with it. It can't just be like a fucking random ass sketch. Like like I have this weird obsession. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but
Even
it's
that sometimes can just take you because, you know, you're trying to make yourself happy with it. And who knows if you'll ever get to that point with that piece. You know, you just keep
yeah.
working on it, working on it, working on it.
I
And
think
even,
even just the act of doing that, maybe I get that satisfaction out of it. So maybe not even so much of, yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth about it. So, but I think at the end of the day, as long as you have something that's productive and has its benefits, you know, go for it. Whatever it is, if anyone's tuning in, whatever it is, keep doing it.
yeah.
Try to inspire creativity. But yeah, so what else is new? Bring me up to speed, Scotty. What else is new with you?
I mean,
I see you're still into Ash and the Evil Dead franchise.
dude, well,
You're a diehard fan, right?
I,
That's safe to
I,
say.
you know, I should have put a picture up of my shrine because that is my pride and joy. I hadn't really. I think it was. I think it was the pandemic that really like sprung it forward. I never really like collected anything, and nothing like of a certain category, let alone a specific movie or thing or theme or whatever. And I just little here and there, like little things, like I got a pop and this and that. And then, you know, before you know it, I'm spending $350 on a replica chainsaw. And then I, you know, I got a 3D printer at some point, and I 3D printed a full-size boomstick out of magnetic iron and wood filament. And I created this thing. And then I got into cosplay, and I started cosplaying as the dude.
Stage. Yeah.
And then I got to meet him. I went all the way down to Maryland for a MonsterCon, Monster Mania. And I just got the autograph with him. So he just signed a picture. That was it. And I put in a raffle for getting my picture taken with him. And we're at the I'm at this con in Maryland, and I had just got his signing the day before, and we're on the second day of the show, and we're at their panel, the Evil Dead, well, Bruce Campbell panel, whatever you want to call it. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden my phone goes off, and I'm like, oh shit, this is the middle of a con. I'm like, so I'm like, hello. And they're like, hi, is this Mike? And I'm like, yeah, this is Mike. What's up? And they're like, oh, you won the picture with Bruce. I'm like, what? Oh my God. So yeah, so the following day I had a photo op with him, and I'm sitting in the hallway. I'm dressed up, and like I even 3D printed the glove from the show. Like I
oh shit.
I don't have it around here, but yeah, I built the whole thing, put lights on it and shit. I got into like electronics, all kind, like building electronics.
Yeah.
So I made the glove, and I had this whole different take on him where I kept the beard, but like I put like gray in it. I had gray in my hair, and I have the instead of the boomstick on my back, I had the boomstick side holstered. I have the glove on, and I took one of them Spirit of Halloween chainsaws, and I lopped off the handle. I cut a hole in it. I put all this shit on it, and I made it so I can put my hand in it, rewired the electronics for the inside. So when my hand's inside it with my thumb, I can push the button, and then the chain starts going and starts revving up and shit. But since I was going to the con, I wanted to handle things and not have one, you know, chainsaw and then one free hand. So I 3D printed this clip that I attached to the chainsaw, and I was able to put the chainsaw on my back and take it off if I wanted to. So I had two free hands and the thing, but I'm sitting in line, and he walks by, and he's like, I dig your costume. And I'm like, dude, I'm like, yes. And then, yeah, I got a picture with him reading this Necronomicon I made. I antiqued the paper, made the cover out of hot glue and shit. And it came out really cool. And he's like, all right, what I want you to do is I want you to read from the book, and I'm going to make a face behind you as if, you know, you're reading the book. So it's me looking at the book, and he's behind me like, you shouldn't do that. Yeah. So I was like, man, this is great.
Shit.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, other than that, yeah, just getting into like I said, electronics, got into like 3D printing, like full blown, like just throwing out in there the wolves. I got one for Christmas present one year, and it was in pieces. It was like a $250 kit, and I had to build it from scratch. I had to wire everything. I had to put everything together, every nut and bolt and everything. And which was great because it taught me a lot about 3D printing. And if something breaks, I now know how to fix it. I eventually bought a bigger printer, and that one was literally 3 screws, and it was together. And I was like, I'm not building another one again because that shit's a pain. So yeah, I did that. I got into 3D printing, and then
did they come with instructions, or did you have to look them up? Because like if it came with instructions, I'd be like, all right, I fuck with it. If I had to research, I'd be like, oh fuck. It
really depends on where you get them from. The one I got, the one I built personally, came with the instructions. It was a bit, but it was legible. I had to build one for this my place of business where I was working at the time. They got into 3D printing, and we had to build their printers, and that was like, okay, I see where you're going with this, but how do we get to that point? And I'm on a computer researching. I'm doing this. I'm over here. I'm like, all right, that picture looks like what's on the instructions here, but it's upside down and backwards. And okay, that was a pain. It really depends on what manufacturer you get it from. And even if you want to go that route, you know, because it's time consuming. It is
Oh yeah.
very time consuming. And then not only that, once you get it together, you got to calibrate it to make sure it's going to do what it's supposed to do, which is a whole nother level of shit.
God damn. Yeah, I'm not made for that shit. Which is why I guess I do what I do. Yeah,
That's why we do what we do, man.
power to you, man, for being able to comprehend all that stuff. But what like what even started that? Like how did you even what sparked the interest into electronics? And like that's like engineering stuff right there, right?
Yeah.
Tech engineering. I don't know the proper label like name like label for it, but I just imagine it's like some like tech engineering category.
I don't know, something like that. It's something like that. That sounds good. I like
Close
it.
enough.
Engineering. Yeah. I'm a fucking engineer, man. Totally.
I mean, I don't like how, right? How else would you? Because it's like you put it together. Like
Yeah. I mean, you can
No
make
one else
put a
did.
puzzle together as long as you have instructions, right? Or well,
Yeah,
puzzles. You don't even
I
need
don't
instructions. You
know.
don't get instructions for puzzles. It's here's a piece. Does it match with this one? Yeah, I
You're-
guess
you're
maybe.
as- you're as close. I mean, you're as closer to that than I'll ever be. So
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, you're gonna make a lasagna. Just follow the instructions. Just
Yeah.
follow the recipe. That's all it is. You know, that's all it
Except like
really
this
is.
lasagna is also gonna be able to make replicas of another object out of fucking
Lasagna that can make more lasagna.
make more lasagnas.
Endless lasagna.
Oh shit. That's
I think it was the first con I went to. I went to this East Coast Comic Con, I think 2016, and just create like that's where I started the Ash, and my chainsaw was terrible. It was like a fucking Arizona iced tea gallon jug that I saw something on like Pinterest and cut it up, and I had this piece of wood with metal and shit, and the thing was heavy. I could like fucking knock someone out with it. It was ridiculous, but I was proud of it. I'm like, I made this. This is, and that was like barely any instructions. I saw how to make the body, and then I kind of just took the rest in my own direction.
yeah.
But just putting together like the shirt and putting the blood stains on and ripping pieces and this and that, and that's where it started to culminate and be like, I kind of like building stuff. I like making this stuff. And then like the next time I went to one, it got a little bit better. And then this and that. I'm like, oh, I'm going to put wires in this thing. And then that started that. And then I got into Raspberry Pis, and then I was building Raspberry Pis. And what can I do with this thing? Oh, I can use it to, you know, have motion sensors around my room. And I started messing around with that. And I can have it so, you know, I can make things move and open up. And I started messing with that. And then eventually I got into building retro Pis, basically taking the Raspberry Pi and 3D printing a case for it and loading it with 8,000 games, you know, from Atari to Super Nintendo. And now you can play 8,000 games wherever you want and this and that. And I got into selling those. And then I'm like, well, I can take that further and then, you know, make the case look like a Death Star and then have it so the power light is the laser on the Death Star, and started doing that shit. And it just kind of exploded from there. And I just haven't stopped since.
Damn, that's
Definitely slowed down, but I'm always like looking to build something, or I'm like salvaging wires now. Like, you know, things break. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna keep those wires. I could use them for something.
Is that something you think you'd want to like? Is that something you'd want to be able to do when you're not doing stuff for gym? Is that something manageable, or it's like?
I think that's more of a hobby.
Oh, okay.
Like I don't want to dilute that with making it work. You know what I mean?
Right.
Making it as work, because then it gets to the point where it's I gotta do another one of these.
Mm,
I don't want to tarnish that. You know what I mean? That's my get away from everything, kind of,
okay.
hone it in, and that's my bass when I'm not playing bass.
I mean, it's like an art.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like an art, right? I mean, especially the way, at least your approach to it. You're very careful about the thing that you're working on, and time and effort is really put into it. So yeah,
That's
that's
the
cool. I
thing
respect
too.
that.
It's I mean, I guess it would sound selfish, but it's like I want to create it, but I want to create it for myself, as opposed to like someone like, hey, can you make this for me? Like, and I got into that a bit where I was like, commissioning pieces and doing stuff. Like I said, I was selling the retro pies and whatnot.
Mm,
But it started to become a job. Like, oh, like I left, I'd leave work and be like, oh, I got to go
mhm,
home and I got to 3D print cases, and then I got to format SD cards, and then I got to program the cards. And it's like, yeah, I remember when
okay,
this was fun.
got it. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, like even just like if we just bring it down to visual artists like painters or even sketch artists, there's so many out there that just do it just for themselves. They don't sell it. They don't, you know, they just, I imagine they just stock up.
Yeah.
It just collects dust. But
I,
yeah,
I,
there's people out there that are like that.
I feel like if you're not forced to make something, it ends up being better, if that makes any sense. Like if you're doing it on your own terms, you don't have a time limit or a deadline or
Mm,
anything like that. Like I can work on this at my leisure. And then when you're done with it, you're like, that's pretty cool. I might sell that. Or
mm,
you don't, it really depends on how attached you are to it, or if you're
yeah.
just trying to get your story out there, if that's what you're conveying through art.
Mm-hmm. I definitely have a lot of that in terms of sketches. Like I said, like people know me for my portraits, so I mean I have pages and pages of portrait sketches. And that I guess that's just I don't know. Like I'm not trying to sell anything or make prints out of them. It's just like my daily practice.
Mm-hmm.
Just the joy out of it, I guess, going back to what we were talking about before. Like I just enjoy doing them.
It's like
I guess that is I guess that is
opening
my doodle.
opening the faucet in your mind and letting it out so you can let new stuff in.
Yeah, if we're talking like straight up like creativity, where like I'm literally coming up with it just starts with an idea off the top of my head, then yeah, but portraits, I don't know, like portraits for me, it's like I always enjoy doing portraits of whoever. But if we're talking about like creating a new idea, yeah, that one's quite a interesting process for me.
Have you ever gone back to anything, like you started something and you're like, nah, and then you just put it away for a while, and then like
Oh yeah.
months or a year later you go back to it and you're like,
Oh yeah. I mean, there's one there's a couple behind me that are just sketches right now, and I've been meaning to get back to, and I'm slowly getting there. Like that painting, like I had that one like halfway done for I think like a year almost. And yeah, it happens. Like sometimes you just take a pause for whatever reason. Um, I think for me at least, because like it's part of a series, and it's sometimes like the headspace I get into when I'm working on that type of work is like it's draining. So I think when I stopped working on that, that's probably when I got real heavy on the portraits again and was doing that. Yeah, but now I'm kind of like back on that wagon, and soon enough I'll be getting back to that. this one here. This is like another one that's part of my what I call the Tech Utopia series. But I'm working on commissions, so unfortunately, like not a lot of other like fun stuff is going on right now.
Yeah.
Besides that, like the commission I'm working on is fun, but like I like to share things, like and share insights, but when it comes to commissions, I try not to share too much. And I can't keep my mouth shut. I like to show everyone, be like, look at this fun thing I'm working on. But it is what it is. I mean, at least I have the podcast that keeps me busy when I'm not doing any illustration work.
It breaks stuff up.
It really does. It really does. Like, and it's like wild because what is an artist these days? Like I feel like everyone is very, we often discuss artists and creators, right? And so not to like exclude any type of creative person, but all creators were often multifaceted, where like we kind of like we juggle a couple of traits or skill sets. So where I feel like it used to be like you were just like, well, I mean, there are niche artists too, which I don't know, maybe because around the people I'd be around often, and I feel like I always hear the word niche, it's just like, ugh. But there are niche artists too, and like I get it. Like I was like a zombie artist for a hot minute, so like
Yeah.
that was my
Yeah.
niche. But yeah, I just nowadays everyone, it's like when you're an artist, it's like you're this and you're that. It's like there's all these different things that everyone handles.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating.
Well, dude, even like in your what you were doing, your niche, what you were doing with the zombies, it's a quick way to get your name out there and get exposure for yourself, but at the same time, it's also a quick way to make a buck, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing that kind of it can spoil it for some people, where when you gotta start worrying about the money, it kind of
Yeah. Yep.
that can spoil it a little bit, because it's like it was fun, when it usually starts like as just fun, and
Yeah.
then you're like, oh, I can make money off of this, but then once you start getting all the once you start really getting deeper into it, it's like doesn't become that fun for a bit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I mean, especially for something that you love doing, you kind of don't
Yeah.
want to, you don't want to destroy that with turning it into, I guess, a job, you know?
Yeah.
Unless you don't mind doing that, that's what your living is to make these creations. But even sometimes that can just,
Yeah.
burn you out. But
Yeah,
like,
I've talked about it. Like, ever since I turned my name into an LLC, now I gotta work. I'm always worrying about like whatever I work on is like, oh, is this profitable? Can I sell this? It's like, I don't. I wish that wasn't like one of the things I have to answer at the end of like for this end result. Like, I wish it's like, this is a fun sketch, not like, oh, like if I render this out on the iPad, like could I sell prints of these or whatever? It's like, nah, man. It's like that's shit. But yeah.
now when if you're doing stuff, like you said, you're working on your iPad and you want to render stuff out, how do you get that out there? I mean, obviously social media, but do you use anything other than Facebook to get it out there? Do you get on other social
Oh,
platforms and like, hey, show some pictures and like message
well,
me for, inquiries?
so before leaving Jersey, I was doing a lot of events in Trenton.
You were doing the punk rock flea
The flea
market, right?
market, yeah,
Yeah.
which is where Brienne found me
Yep.
and how I ended up being at those events. But but yeah, I was doing, and when we met, I wasn't actually like, I think I only did a few of those Trenton events. I got to a point where I was doing almost all of their seasonal events, and even some of their they had like these art all night and art all day events. Like I was doing that. So I kind of, like, I don't want to say, like, I almost kind of became like almost like a familiar on that scene in terms of like doing these markets and whatnot. So I was doing a lot of that, and that's kind of how I kept my name going around. And then yeah, about a year and a half ago, we decided to move to Richmond, Virginia, where I'm kind of like starting on a clean slate almost. And now I'm just trying to get. It's really just kind of doing what I did back in Trenton. So I'm trying to, when I'm not doing events, the artisan markets, because there's so many going on here on like every weekend.
Mhm.
So lately, I'm doing more of just visiting and networking, and then hopefully get my foot in the door to do the next event that they do. Um, and yeah, like I've done a few so far, and they've been pretty successful. I've done a couple of like these bigger like art festivals, which were successful. So yeah, it's been challenging trying to get my foot in the door just because I'm just new, basically.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like their vendors or the featured artists for any event, they kind of have like they're familiar. So I just feel like they're easier to get on, and plus they're on like the mailing list and all that. So like I did all that stuff. So now I'm just kind of like waiting for like an opportunity to be able to do an art event and then just get more of my name out there. But besides doing that and social media stuff, I actually started doing this thing where I would do like once a month, I would do this thing called the art hunt. So I'll do like a 5x7 sketch of whatever. It's usually fan art. And then I kind of just like leave it off out in the public. And like I'll have a post-it note saying like free art. On the back of it, I'll have my scan thingy so they can like get my active platforms and whatnot. So I just like tape them off like at different locations, and then in the hopes that whether I gain a follower or a potential client for a custom piece or something. That's been a fun way of kind of get my name out there.
So along with the social media, you're still heavy into the physical media.
Oh yeah. What do you mean by physical?
Like getting out there, like you're going to,
Oh yeah.
the events, and you're still
Yeah.
putting things like, flyers on like, store windows and shit. Not saying that you're doing that, but like you're
Yeah, I'm
other
still
than like,
trying to
hey,
be.
Facebook, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I try to. Yeah, I try to keep it. I guess I don't know if it's organic, but yeah, I try to like. Yeah, the
That's a
hit it
lost
a
art,
little.
man. No one does that shit anymore.
Well, it was recommended. It was suggested to me by my wife's cousin,
Mhm.
because there was like there's some artist, I don't know if he's from Pittsburgh or Philly, I forget, but he was doing it, and yeah, I don't know, people just they loved it, and like I don't know, I don't remember if he had a big following before or from that, but yeah, I was like, hey, fuck it, like, and again, right, this is like, you just whip something up for fun, and it's free, so try not to spend too much time on it. But me being me, like, I'm still like, it's like, oh, like you could probably make a few bucks off of this, like that. No, that's always like, but I'm like, nah, man, I just like, you know what, I just I'm gonna try to connect with somebody out there, you know. Hopefully they're, you know, they like art, and granted they like whatever I illustrated. So yeah, if I can connect that way, that's cool.
What are you looking to do?
As far as like how, like with everything I'm doing right now, like what,
Yeah, I get. I mean, you said you got your name LLC'd and whatnot. Like, what are you
uh
looking to accomplish?
so I'm trying to, I guess, like just kind of take more of the serious route as a visual artist, do more exhibits, more like gallery settings. So that's why I've been working so much on this particular art series, because I want to be able to have my own uh art show and have all, you know, all these pieces out, and has like a whole story, you know, this, that, and the other. um uh and then yeah, I mean, kind of that's just really it so far. To be able, actually, it'd be cool to have like enough art, and art that I really, that grabs enough attention to maybe one day have like an investor or something to do bigger projects, you know, maybe do like, you know, like sculptures, because I used to enjoy sculpting, but you know, I just never kept up with it.
Mm.
But you know, it'd be cool to like have an art show or an exhibit where I've got a few sculptures. um you know, so it's just doing stuff on that scale, rather than just doing markets. Like I've done markets for years. Like if I really were to date it back, like I would really have to sit down and figure that out, but been doing it for a long time, and like it'd be nice to, you know, not rely on that as like my you know, my income, or my, you know what I mean, like
Hmm.
making money that way. It'd be
Yeah.
nice to be able to make money like on my online store, or doing commissions. Like I would, you know, I would love to make a living doing commission work, making custom art for people's homes or for businesses, stuff like that. So yeah, that's generally like what I would like to do, is be able to make a living doing that.
Mm.
Um, and then, you know, and I got the podcast going. So like, you know, it's like almost like a whole nother business itself. But hopefully the podcast, maybe one day, like, I don't know, it'd be cool to get like a sponsor or something, and just, you know, just really hope to keep connecting with more people. Um, but that's, so the overall goals in general. But
That's
yeah.
pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's yeah.
I just got noticed today that we're getting our first sponsor for the podcast, and I was kind of like,
Nice.
oh, we're getting there. All right, this is pretty badass. We're doing a thing in September for Manscape.
Oh shit, nice. Now, how,
Yeah.
all right, so wait, are you allowed to share this? Like how do
I
you
don't
feel
know
about
actually.
that?
Well, this isn't going
Well,
to be
not
out until
Manscaped,
September,
but
so.
I mean, like how, like I've been wanting to ask I had this comedian, Kevin Dabrowski,
Mhm.
um and I've been meaning to ask him, because I think they have a sponsor. I think it's like a CBD sponsor. But like
Okay.
I'm wondering, like, how does that happen? Or is that just like a matter of like they just have to seek you out somehow through your content? Or like sometimes I make fake ads just for fun of it, because I like
Mhm.
to edit videos. So like I've done like a few like really lame, like uh out of nowhere, like usually liquid death ads.
Okay.
Or there was one time I actually did try to like, I mean, it's not high quality, but I tried to like produce like a decent ad for a barbecue sauce that I use.
Okay.
Like, you know, it's just for fun. I'm like, it'd be cool to get a sponsor from like one of these things, because like I use them. So like,
Do you use them for your podcast?
so well, I only did one barbecue thing. And like I tried to get like my follow, like my friends on Instagram to like tag
Mhm.
It's Stubbs Barbecue. So I was getting people to tag Stubbs Barbecue, be like, yo, sponsor this guy. And then Liquid Death, like, I would just tag them, and anytime because I would like flip it and make like a Liquid Death thing out of it.
Mhm.
And I would like come up with like, stupid phrases and stuff like that. But I don't know if like, if that helps, or I mean, it's just fun to do, but I'm like, if that helps, that'd be cool. But I don't know. I don't know how to go about it.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you. All I know is that the Patreon guy called me earlier today to run me through a bunch of stuff because he apparently we had one of our episodes taken down for something that Jim was talking about, and I guess we should have known it was going to happen at some point. But we have an inside guy that kind of like talked us how to get around things like that and what we can say prior to what we're gonna say, so we can then fight it later on if we do get a strike or something like that.
Wow.
But he gave me real quick rundown of what's going on, and then he told me about the sponsorship, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. We're getting to that point now where we can do that. How you do that, I don't know if it's like based, it's probably based on like your viewership, and I'm assuming it's mostly on that because you're going to advertise to 4 people that follow your channel, you know what I mean?
I mean, and you got Jim Brewer, so I mean that's you got a valuable name like that. It's Jim Brewer, so I imagine all of that is factored in there.
Yeah, I mean,
it's tough, man. It's tough. Like I guess like it's tough for like an average. Just like, dude, there's so many fucking podcasts. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think there's like 4 million or some crazy shit like that. Or
yeah, anybody can make a thing, as long as you got a microphone and you got a computer or even a phone,
I know, it's wild.
And then that shit blew up during the pandemic because no one else had anything to do.
Yeah. It's funny. Like I started right before it started. Like I think I started around this time. Shit, I think about 3 years ago, around this time. Yeah, 2019. And then it just hit. I was like, fuck. Because I was actually doing like with some of my guests, I would actually, just out of courtesy, if they felt uncomfortable coming to my home, and which like, I guess it's like safe for both of us, but I would meet them somewhere like where they'd be comfortable with, like, so in most cases it'd be like where like a studio that they work at or whatever. But I would be like on the road doing the podcast essentially.
So like Steve-O does his on the road literally.
Yeah, pretty much. I'd had my laptop and my mic, and then I would have I think I would just record I would use my laptop for one angle and then my iPad for another angle for the guest. Like that was that was my setup. So
it works, man.
Yeah, it's true. Whatever works. But
I mean, shit, like right now, the setup that we have, like my setup, I shouldn't be using the setup I'm using with Jim. Because I got I got this camera, I got the Rodecaster Pro, I got all this shit and these headphones and this microphone, and Jim uses like he was using like his AirPod wired headphones, but he uses his phone. Like this is what he uses for a podcast, and he'll sit there and set it up, and he puts it in selfie mode, the front facing camera isn't that great, so we're already losing quality on that. And then like you watch the side by side, and I'm looking all great in an HD and this and that, and Brewer's all grainy and his video keeps dropping out because his internet sucks. It's like, dude, your shit should be better than mine. What are you doing? Stop this. But we're working on that, like I said previously.
Well, he's old school too.
Yeah. It's I have to dumb shit down when I talk to him, and he's even said it. He's like, Mike, talk to me like I'm 5, please. And I'm like, all right, well, you got to take this wire and you got to put it in here. And when that's good to go, you can, and I got to be careful with what I say to him, because you can see him just, and I'm like, yeah, I gotta be careful. And because I don't want to overload him. And then him, him be like, I don't want to do this, so I got to kind of work around. And I'm like, Jim, I'll take care of it. You do what you got to do. And I'll do everything on the back end. Don't worry about it. I got you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah, because you get to an age where you can't learn any like new things, right?
Well, not even that. I mean, try and like, I guess for someone like him who kind of like stepped away from that Hollywood spotlight and just he's only been doing like stand up, and then now to even just to get his like shows out there, he's got to have some kind of social presence, and then between fucking Facebook and TikTok and Twitter and Instagram, it's a lot for someone who's up there in experience levels to have to take on all that, and he's even said, he's like, get yourself a couple of 20-something-year-olds and they'll do everything for you. Just got to tell them what you need and what you need to do and where you need to put it. And we handle the rest. And that's what we've been doing, which is great. Cause I'm at that age where like, I feel like we're like translators for like the older folk and the younger folk. So we can understand what the younger folk are saying and we can kind of translate that to the older folk. So we have the best of both worlds, because we grew up without this shit. You know what I mean? But we also grew up with this shit. So, and there's kids that never, they've never gone their life without being on Facebook or TikTok. We didn't have that shit. We went home when the street lights came on. You know what I mean? Like, pay phones and shit.
Yeah. Oh my God. Dude.
Right?
Yeah. I just had when I had my this week's episode that just came out with Rickman, my buddy. We were just talking about like having phones, like telephones, when we get to slam, when you're like pissed off at someone, you just slam the phone.
Yeah.
So
or even flip phones. You were able to slam them shut. You can't.
Like, fuck you!
Fold this in half.
Hell yeah!
You can't do that shit. And then what are you gonna do? Throw it? You're gonna throw your $1,000 computer at the floor? No. Sorry.
Yeah, man. Times are different. We're definitely an interesting generation in that respect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, man, because I remember the last job I had back in Jersey, I worked for this sign company. I was like one of the graphic designers, and they were using, oh God, what program was it? It was some software that I wasn't familiar with. So the boss, the manager, he would like bring in like his older designers that left, but he would pay them for their time to give, to show, like to give us tutorials and stuff. I don't know, the whole management was a little off, in my opinion, like the learning curve at least. But I'm just like, a lot of this stuff, and like, I don't know, I've been out of college for like shit, like easily like what, 15 years now? I don't know, over a decade, man. So like a lot of the knowledge I learned then, I don't know, it just fades away because I never applied to it, like especially with the stuff I do now. So I remember I made a comment or something. I was like, oh man, like, like this wasn't, I don't know, I probably said like, oh man, like if this wasn't around when I was like back in college. And he said like, oh, he's like, yeah, you gotta get with the times, man. I'm like, oh. I was like, that kind of hurt, man. Like, cause he was right, but I'm just like, damn, do I?
I hear that, man.
Nah, it's true. Yeah, I try to keep up as much as I can especially when it applies, but like even like digital illustration, I really don't mess with the iPad that much, and that's the only time when I do something digital. And it's usually just rendering out a sketch, but with color and everything, finalizing it. That's it. But that's pretty rare
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yep.
Like unless I want to make some like sticker designs or something. But
Dude, when I was younger, I used to draw all the time. I was in elementary school. I was in like special art classes, after school programs,
oh
all
yeah,
kinds of shit. I mean, I was getting stuff. I mean, I was 7, 8, but I'm getting my stuff put in like the library, like specially selected from our school to get shown
nice.
off in the library and shit. And for an 8-year-old kid, that's amazing. That
Yeah.
your stuff's getting out there. And I think once I hit maybe right before high school, uh, or maybe it was even a little bit into my freshman year, like my drawing just and art just went down. Like I just
Oh,
stopped. I
high school,
slowly
bro.
got off of it. Yeah. I slowly got off it. And it was always like, mechanical pencils and chalk and this and that. And I had, the drawing table and all this shit. And I just completely fell off it. And then, eventually high school, boom, from high school till now, it's 20 years in June. It was 20 years since I graduated high school. Hadn't done shit. And a couple months ago, well, Christmas, we got my girlfriend's kid an iPad for Christmas, and we got it for him. We got him the pencil because he likes to draw and stuff. And I'm like, man, I wish I had this shit when I was when I was his age. I could just draw and blah blah. And I kept like taking his iPad and his pencil, and I just kept like messing around and playing with it. I'm like, this is fucking cool. I'm like, I could just draw anywhere, anytime with anything and whatever. So a couple months ago, I ended up getting myself an iPad and I got a pencil. And dude, I haven't stopped fucking drawing since I got it. I
Nice.
love it. It's great. Everywhere I go, I'm like, watching something on the couch and I'm sitting there doodling something. Even if I'm
Yeah.
tracing over something, I'm doing it using, the mirror effect. And I can't get over the fact that the one art program is called Procreate. Like that's fucking hilarious to
Yeah.
me. Procreate is like,
Yeah.
really? But it's I guess I don't know if it's because of the technology or just I don't need to sharpen shit every 5 seconds or go get paper or figure out what kind of notebook I want to get or
Right.
it just makes it so much easier. But I've
It
drawn
does.
more in the past like 3 months than I have in the last 20 years, and it's like I'm starting to get that I guess fire back where I want to start drawing more and create more. And I'm like, it makes
Nice.
me feel good. It's like, that's awesome. Because I lost it
Awesome.
and now it's slowly coming back.
That's awesome. And that's what I use as well. I use Procreate. And I don't, I'm very like basic. Like I don't do anything flashy. Um, but I always go back to the traditional mediums. I had this conversation with my friend who I mentioned earlier, Rick Man. Often like when it comes to sketching and whatnot, like we always go back to pencil and paper for some odd reason. We kind of just say it's because of just the way like our background, like our educational background, it always started with pencil and paper for us. So maybe that's why we're always prone to just naturally like that feels more comfortable than you know
Mm-hmm.
tablet or iPad. But it's true, like I mean shit, it's sky's the limit with Procreate. And I believe it has right, doesn't it have like an animation application to it, like a tool or something?
I think so. I think you can also
And
like screen record while you're drawing too, do like time lapses and shit.
yeah,
I
it
think it
does do
does.
that. It'll yeah, you can get it like down to like 30 seconds or like whatever the full time, and it does that, which I like about it. But with the animation thing, I'm like shit, because I always like say I don't like to like say I would never animate anything again. Like I always say, one day I might animate something, and even if it was like if I went back to like basics, like a bouncing ball, but I would still like to try to animate something again. And with Procreate, if it has that tool, I would have to double check, but I would probably give that shit a shot again. And maybe one day start animating little short clips, nothing crazy, but like I
Makes
said,
it so much easier.
I mean, one day, like I said, but we'll see. The sky's the limit with that thing. But there's
Seriously is.
so many applications.
I mean, I was at the, I was doing stuff for my own or even for Breuer stuff before I got the iPad. And like, I would kind of draw something out on paper and then take a picture of it,
Yep.
send it to my computer, and then basically, I guess, digitize it through Photoshop and just kind of outline everything. And I'm like, with the mouse, I'm like, this is so unnatural. I'm like, I gotta, in my hand with the mouse is just not great. Like I'm good, but I'm just like, I'm too, I don't know, I guess too high strung, too much ADHD where I can't just sit there and meticulously use my mouse and draw over shit. And then I'm like,
easier with a pencil.
get the iPad, and did that. I'm like, I'm never taking pictures of shit again.
Actually, I still do that way. Like if I got like characters or something, yeah, I mean, I take pictures of everything I fucking draw.
Well, if it's already done, then yeah, we're not gonna
yeah.
redraw it again on the iPad,
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, the iPad is great for that main reason. You just fucking whip that shit out.
Yeah, I actually just figured out. I got an app for my iPad. We're totally going off on different things now from drawing, but I found an app that you can turn your iPad into a Stream Deck.
I don't. What is that?
That's like it's got like hotkeys. Stream Deck, you can buy the physical box, and they have like these buttons that light up, and you can put pictures on them and shit. So, this one's a play button for YouTube, and this one opens up this one opens up that. But I found an app that you can turn your iPad into a Stream Deck. So when I do the Breuniverse, I usually have that set up over here, and I can flip between camera angles. I can turn my camera off. I can, zoom in the guest and pull them out and this and that. It makes it so much easier. Took that a step further, and I got an app, and I can use my iPad as a second screen for my laptop.
Oh shit.
Which is fucking great. Instead of actually having to go and buy another monitor for it, got a portable little monitor right there.
Fuck yeah.
But that's all the tech shit. That's what I'm into.
Yeah, not to mention that shit costs money.
yeah. I mean, but if you already have the iPad,
yeah.
Because I justified it as like the Stream Deck. I bought the iPad. The Stream Deck is like, I think for the cheap one is like $150, and I'm like,
okay,
I could just buy the fucking app and turn my $600 iPad, 400, whatever how much it was, and just turn that into what I need it for. Oh, I need another monitor. Why spend money when I can just turn this thing into that? I always try to figure out with what I have existing, what else can I do with it besides what it's intended for.
That's right. So if anyone's listening or watching, take notes. It's like kind of being frugal, right?
I guess it's also
frugal way of handling production and stuff.
Using things to the best of its ability, other than just what it's watching Netflix or YouTube.
Oh yeah, I don't, dude. Like, I mean, if I'm not using my iPad for illustration, or like recording footage or whatever, I mean, I pretty much use it to, listen to Joe Rogan or, I mean, that's about it. Or like watch UFC fights if I'm not home. If I don't have my phone and I have my iPad, but I mean, I really just use the iPad for illustration purposes. So yeah, I don't use it to stream a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Nah, man.
Nah,
man.
Nah, man.
Nah, dude. It's I'm glad that we got to catch up, man. I never, kind of like I said in the beginning. I didn't know there was this much of an artistic side of you. I didn't know you loved to illustrate that much. it was cool to hear you talk about the whole thing with the 3D printing and when you got into cosplay, because I remember when you went through that, those periods, especially when you started making your own stuff, the cosplay. Like I remember seeing photos of that, and then I was like, man, this, like I never realized, because right again, knowing you from being in the band with Matt Westlake,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Being in a band with him, uh, at those pudding wrestling tournaments. I didn't really know too much about you, and then seeing this creative side of you was really cool and eye-opening. And I'm glad that now, years later, we can sit down and like talk about it and share about it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I went to school for graphic design and animation. I've been editing videos since fucking Windows Movie Maker, when Windows still had a movie maker. I've been editing videos since I figured out how to dub audio from a video camera to a VCR. One of my first school projects with my buddy, we were doing VCR to VCR, editing. So we would, play it here and then record it here and, dubbing the audio from the video, but then dubbing music from a MP3 or a CD into it. And we're cutting and this and that. Yeah. And that's when I really got into, editing and all that shit. It's from a very early age. And it was at one point where I'm like, I want to be an actor and this and that and and it took the years to figure out that I'd rather be the guy making, behind the scenes, creating it. Cause I like to take nothing and then turn it into something, even if it's like something tiny. I feel like I can figure out a way to chop it up and stretch it out and make it something that it wasn't intended to be. But just like with the iPad, like try to use things where what it's not intended for, try to expand on it or create something out of it that is out of the norm, and I guess that's where my love for, editing and, tech and this and that just came about, because I try to use that to my advantage. And, just like your character in a video game, and your age, I don't see it as age. I see it as experience points. You're leveling up in the world, that's what I'm trying to do. I don't want to be the same schmo I was 10 years ago doing the same shit. I want to build upon that experience and grow my character. So when the character eventually passes on, that knowledge goes somewhere or not. I don't know where I was going with that philosophical moment.
Well, it truly is a journey. So, anyone tuning in that might be an aspiring artist, hopefully there are, I believe there are many gems, valuable gems in this episode that anyone who is kind of leaning towards a creative endeavor, maybe making something out of it, there may be some gems out of this that they can use moving forward. Anything you want to plug before we wrap this bad boy up?
No, I mean, I'm just going to plug my mouth with some food, but I'm going to do that off camera. I'm not going to do that. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
the Breunerverse podcast.
Yeah, I would plug that. I don't know if that's a lot of people's thing. I know, because we're so divided right now in this country. It's like,
you think his material might
I mean,
I've seen some of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
is what it is.
And it's funny too, because real quick, I've seen like comments where like people have say like, oh, you've changed. And I do the work for him. Sometimes I agree with what he's doing. Sometimes he just goes out there or whatever. But I love what I do. I love the editing. I love everything I do for this guy. And sometimes I just sit back and I'm like, he just got like old and angry. He's just mad at everything. Like just enjoy your life, man. But at the same time, I'm not shitting on the guy. I'm not, his views are his views. At the end of the day, my views are mine. And I just enjoy what I do. And I love it. Doesn't matter who I'm working for or what their views are. I love what I do. And I'm glad that I get to finally, after all these years of messing around, making videos that no one will ever see, or just making them for me and my friends, it's awesome to sit back and just look at it and go, wow, like, there's thousands of people that are seeing my shit. Like I never thought this would happen. It's weird.
Which is why I was plugging in that podcast. So at least they can see what it is that you do for the podcast. Yeah. But do you still like share the I mean, if people want to see the stuff that we were talking about earlier, would they be able to see that? Do you share that on your social media? Do you share your social media?
Yeah, I have what do I have? I have the Adventures of Sir Noobs on Instagram, SIRNEWBZ, all one thing, Adventures of Sir Noobs. I also have Dead Robot VR on Instagram, which is all my VR videos and stupid shit I make there. You can follow me at Mike the Sound Guy Official on Instagram.
There you go.
I used to have which I probably should bring back. I had one called Prince of Geeks, but it was Prince spelled like PRINTZ of Geeks. And I would just print like, Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters, but 3D print stuff and then put it out there. I definitely got to get back on that. But yeah, I mean, check out the Breunerverse if you're into that thing. I'm usually on for like the first 5 or 10 minutes or so. You can say, hey, I saw Mike the Sound Guy's face, and totally throw me under the bus if you want to. If I had any advice to give anybody out there who's an aspiring artist or whatever, just do it. Just don't think about it. Don't fucking do it. If you don't do anything with it, you don't do anything with it. Maybe you'll do something with it a year later, a couple months later, or never at all. But you have it in your arsenal, and one day you might look at it and go, this could be something. Just do it. Record it, draw it, fucking anything. Just do it. As long as it's legal. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as no one's getting hurt, of course.
Exactly.
But it's true. I'm gonna piggyback on that and yeah, just do it. If you feel you gotta get it out there somehow, go for it. All right. It's better to put it out than to keep it inside, right? So, brother, I appreciate your time, man. I had a great time just catching up. Like I said earlier, it was gonna be one of those podcasts. And I learned a lot about you, bro. Appreciate it.
Dude, I appreciate you bringing me on and doing this. This was a lot of fun.
This was very spur of the moment. I'm glad it happened. And yeah, man, if you ever want to sit down again and shoot the shit, and feel free to hit me up. Always welcome back on. Lately I've been talking about AI stuff, like just how freaky it is. So maybe next time we can I'll pick your brain about that. If you're real, I mean, you probably know more shit than I do. This is just shit I see that's like, red flag. But we can get into that next time.
Totally, man. I'm all about that crap. I noticed that you were partaking in some herbal relaxation at some points. If I knew it was that kind of a podcast, I would have been partaking as well. So yes, we definitely need to redo this. Not redo it, but do another one.
Oh yeah,
sure. We're gonna go off the deep end, man.
Yeah,
take you with me.
Yeah,
we're going.
This is part of my route, my process. My process. Yes, everyone tuning in, thank you for joining us. Again, if you're new here, hope you enjoy this content. Do not forget to follow, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Be sure to check out the links provided. So again, you can continue to follow us outside the podcast. And with that, be safe, stay healthy, stay aware, and create something. And we will catch you on the next one. Peace out.